Welcome to Satsang. So, this morning I wanted to talk about how to listen, how to be open to hearing. Because as a seeker, we need to be able to hear others. We need to be able to hear the world when it's telling us what it thinks is going on. And what seems to be the case an awful lot is that there's a form of resistance offered. So instead of helping the person who's telling us what they think's going on by becoming an investigator of what they're talking about, we go to an instant form of denial or resistance. And instead of going, yeah, let's have a look at that, more of, no, you're wrong. No, this is what I did. Here's my excuse. And excuses and no, you're wrong, they're all the same. It's resistance. And because we're resisting, that's picked up by whoever's talking to us. And depending on what their programming's like, when they meet our resistance, they might back down. They might stop giving you information, which is a terrible thing for a seeker. Or they might get more aggressive and try and tell you more. And that might up your ante, you might get more resistant. And so now we start to move into conflict. And it's because you haven't been willing to listen in the first place. Instead of listening and assisting in what's being given to you, you're in some way resisting it. You're in denial or you're in a no somewhere. And so you're living your life as this no, and you're blocking the feedback that the world is giving you as to what might be happening in you, what you might be up to. So as a seeker, you're cutting off your best source of information, all those around you, because you're unofficially telling them, I don't want to hear. And, you know, if you tell someone you don't want to hear often enough, well, they stop telling you. Now, if you go to a further extent and you get angry with people who are telling you about you or what they can see, now you're actually punishing them. And so what happens when we punish someone for giving information to us? Usually we cut them off. We go, won't bother anymore. And so now we've really cut that source off. So people who get angry when someone starts giving them information about themselves have cut the world off from showing them themselves. And as a seeker, that's devastating. Because it's our best source we've cut off. Because we can learn from everybody. It doesn't matter if someone's 99% wrong. What about that 1% they might be right with? What about that bit that we haven't seen in ourselves? A place we may not have shown up as a seeker. But if we offer resistance to the world, every time someone comes up with, this is what you're doing, well, we're failing ourselves. And we're also failing them as a friend, because they're being courageous enough to actually tell us what they think. And we're closing them down with our resistance. And of course, if our resistance is aggressive, anger, we're actually using violence on them to close them down. So, for me, it's like, someone says something about me, it doesn't matter. You got to listen. It doesn't matter how, it might not be 100% true, you've got to listen. You go, really? Is that so? And have a look inside, really examine it, become an investigator of this new bit of information, this new lead, this new evidence, if you like, about you. Because cutting it off, you're really, really, really going the wrong direction. The other thing is, the side about intimacy. when we've got people giving us feedback about ourselves, whether it's our beloveds or whether it's a stranger or whether it's an employee or a boss or whoever, when we go to resistance, we kill intimacy because we're living in a no. We've created a massive separation between whoever's giving us the feedback and ourselves. There's no intimacy, there's no love in that, there's no joy in that, there's no beauty in that. We may get to be right, but at what cost? At what price? What price are we paying for the loss of the intimacy and the loss of love? Just because we don't want to hear what they have to say. It's worth looking at. Examining yourself and saying, well, how do I handle criticism? How do I handle feedback from others? What am I like to be with? How caring and how loving am I? Am I a good listener? Do people feel heard around me? These are good questions to ask yourself. And if you're finding yourself less than somehow, maybe it's time to have a look at improving. Maybe it's time to have a look at opening up more and changing some of the behaviours that stop the information coming in, if it's not too late. Because unfortunately, if you've been doing that for a long time with people, they will have stopped giving you information. They will be avoiding you in some way. And you may never be able to recover that. It's up to you. It takes a bit of courage to really but this whole game of higher consciousness needs courage. It's a game for the courageous, the brave. So I'll leave it in your court. Thank you for Satsang.